Hello everybody, my name is Aksara and today we are going to be talking about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a very long time. And as you can see by the title, that is life as an Indian girl living in India for quite a while. Now I know these videos have been done before many times on YouTube, but as a teenager living in India, I just wanted to give my opinions on it and my perspective. And let's see how things can go. So let's get started, shall we? Now before people start getting their panties in twists saying that I'm complaining about my own country, that I am ungrateful, no. I love my country, I really do, and I love living here. There are just a few things that I really need to talk about to somebody, and you guys are the perfect candidates. And I'm sure that a lot of us can relate to these, so don't get tensed, everybody. It's okay. I have written down all of my day-to-day points in this beautiful notebook that I carry with me everywhere. Yes, I am flexing this beautiful notebook that I got for my birthday. I hope everyone enjoys this beautiful notebook. And as a side note, I'm not sure if all of these things apply to the entirety of India because I've only lived in Tamil Nadu, which is South India. I don't know what goes on in North India. I've only been there for vacation for a few days. That's it. So if there are things that are different or something I've missed, please let me know. I would love to know what goes down in North India. And for my friends who are not Indian, I hope this video does not discourage you from visiting here or gives you an impression that it's a bad country, because it's totally not. There are so many things that I love about my country and I love living here, and coming here was such a good choice for me. These are just a few things, like I said before, that I have a few nitpicks about. That's it. The first point I would like to touch on is something that I'm sure every single Indian, doesn't matter if you're north or south or wherever the hell you are, you have experienced at some point in your life, and that is Indian aunties. You all know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? It doesn't matter where you go, how long you live in a different country, how long you stay in this country, you will always encounter an Indian auntie, and it will always be a very similar encounter. Because Indian aunties, they're just a separate breed. They're just a different species, in my opinion. Because the things they say, they either make you question your entire life, or they make you question the entire world as it is. It's like no matter what age you are, you will never escape the question that these Indian aunties present to you. If you're like a child or a teenager, it's what's your exam results? What's your next school? What are you going to do next? What's your future like? What are your NEET results? What are your JEE's results? I'm not even writing NEET or JEE, and I know this. And it's always a question related, because you know what? Indian aunties are so nosy. And it's not just aunties, by the way, I know I'm generalizing it, but it's also uncles. It's aunties and uncles, like both of them. All the questions they ask are so personal. It's things that you would probably only share between like you and your like parents and siblings. But they also want to know because they consider themselves to be a part of your life, even if they're a complete stranger and they just met you on the side of the street like 2 days ago. And after you move on from being a teenager and become like a young adult and start going to college, next questions are, how long are college degrees going, which is fine. But then, when are you getting married? The question, who are you marrying? Is it love marriage, arranged marriage? Can't be love marriage, how dare you? And after you finish college and start working is when they'll properly start asking about marriage. And say you do get your marriage fixed, then comes the next set of questions. How much gold are you putting on? How much gifts are your parents giving? What about the dowry? What are you gonna do? Where are you gonna live after your marriage? What are you and your husband planning to do? After you get married is when the next season starts. You know what? Everyone knows what it is. When are you having kids? When is your next child? Even if you have another child, after that, when is your next child? Well, how are you going to raise that child? It's all of these, all the time. And they frustrate me so much. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to ask, because everyone's curious. But when it gets to a point that your questions become pressurizing to that person, that's where it crosses the line. And not only are these questions about your life, but they're also about other things like your physique. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Like here's an example from my own life, okay? Like about a few years ago, I think like 2 years ago, I got a new bicycle that I would ride around almost every day at like evening, okay? And evening is the time when, in my apartment especially, Indian aunties are frolicking all over the place, looking at everybody, seeing what they're wearing, seeing who they're talking to. Are they talking to a boy, talking to a phone? Why are you talking to a boy, huh? Hey, you see that girl is wearing short skirt. What do people say? So I would ride my cycle around every evening, just minding my own business, listening to music, not interacting with anybody because I don't want to be interacted to. And one day I was riding my cycle, so then I got a call. So I had to stop my cycle, get down and attend the call. Once I finished attending the call, Again, I'm not interacting with anybody, okay? My entire vibe says don't come near me. Because cycling is a time that I like to reflect on my own thoughts. I don't want to talk to anybody else. And also let it be known, like obviously the person didn't know this, but this was at a time when I wasn't exactly comfortable in my own body and I thought I looked not good, is a way to phrase it. So then I kid you not, I'm standing there beside my cycle, about to get on, when one of these Indian aunties, who I think my mom knows like a little bit, but I don't know her that much, she comes up to me and she doesn't ask about my bicycle. She didn't ask about like, who am I talking to or anything. She comes up to me with a straight face and says, "Edukku cycle otra? Wait koriki pakriya? Wait koriki pakriya enna?" And from there, I had to stop for like 5 seconds in my place and look at her with the most confused expression because so many thoughts running through my head. One was, am I fat? Do I look like I'm riding the cycle to lose weight? Is that the vibe I'm giving off? And second thought was, that's kind of rude to ask people that so suddenly, someone I don't really know, because I barely knew that woman. I think I've seen her like twice. That's the thing though, okay? Being that kind of rude isn't considered as rude here, especially. That's just considered as something normal, which I think we should stop normalizing things like that. But maybe that's just my opinion. Let me know yours. The second thing I want to talk about is something that I'm sure everyone is familiar with, but in Indian culture, and especially in my hometown, in Indian culture, things like having fair skin are very, very idolized. So if you have darker skin like I do, it's gonna be a tough road, okay? Just be prepared. Because everywhere around you, all you see is people trying to market having fair skin, and that marketing has led people to think that if you have fair skin, you are beautiful. Therefore, if you don't have fair skin and you have dark skin, you are not beautiful, or there is some more you can add to your beauty, or you need to change something about yourself. That's why we start getting things like Fair and Lovely, Fair and Handsome, Whitening Cream, Pond's White Beauty. You want so much powder before a festival so that you look like a ghost. And I'm not the type of person to cry racism, because this isn't racism, okay? This is Indian people doing it to themselves. Because now, I can kind of defend for myself if someone says bad about my skin. But when I was younger, I didn't know any better. I had to listen to what people told me. And I can still vividly remember people telling me as like a 5-year-old, 6-year-old that, hey, you should put on some more powder, you know? Oh, you look a little bit dark there, put a little bit more powder. Did you try that new like whitening cream? You know, it looked good on you. That's all I heard, really, as a child. And I know so many people who have heard the same thing. And it's sad, really, that we're still living in this mindset. I still hear people say it in this day and age to their children. And it's made worse by the fact that even in the movie industry, there's the same mindset. If we look at really popular films like JB, which is such an incredible movie in my opinion, I think it has an incredible story, incredible casting, incredible like message. And for how that movie connects to this issue is because of one particular character in the movie. I believe her name is Sengeni. She is portrayed by a phenomenal actress named Lijamol Jose. Please tell me if I pronounce her name wrong. But she's such an incredibly beautiful actress, and her portrayal for the character was so well done. But in the movie, she looks so dark, which I believe that was her actual skin tone. I was like, oh wow, they're actually casting like a dark woman. And then I look at the press tours and I see like the award shows. She is so fair, which is her actual skin tone. Why not just cast a darker woman? And again leads into the stereotype that if you're of a darker skin, that means you're less wealthy or you're poorer, which is not true at all. Again, nothing against the movie because it's such an incredible movie that I've watched many times. And that's why it makes me so happy when I see movies casting dark actresses who also do an incredible job. Like the movie that I watched, Sita, the main actress, she is dark-skinned. Her acting was bad level, if I want to say. That one scene of her having a panic attack really got me in the feels, and of course I was sobbing throughout the entire movie. But then, I heard someone else say, and someone who I know by the way, say that, oh, she's such a great actress, it would have been better if she was prettier. And I said, oh, I think she's quite pretty. And they say, oh, she's pretty, but if her skin was a little bit fairer, she would be incredible. And I lost it, I really did. I was like, oh, no. We do not say that here, we do not, because that's such a bad attitude to have, and the fact that we still have people who think that way in 2025 is ridiculous. And And of course, we can't forget whenever, we go outside for a little bit, come back inside, meet some of our relatives, and they go, yes, obviously, I was in the sun. Obviously, I'm gonna get tanned because the sun has UV rays and they go into our skin. Something, I don't know. So on a final note, India's obsession with fair skin is a never-ending story, but I believe it'll get better one day. Moving on, let's talk about Indian schools and the Indian schooling system. So fun, right? But here's the thing about Indian schools. They can either be pure entertainment or literal hell, depending on the time of day. Not even the day, the time of day. Because I've been to schools in both places. Okay, I lived in Ireland for a while and now I'm in India. So I've experienced both types of schooling. And let me tell you, completely different. And I'm not going to talk about the actual schooling or the teaching, which I'll come to later. I'm talking about the characters you will find inside school. Because schools in other places around the world, I guess Ireland in this case because that's where I was, it's, how do I say it? It's very boring. It's so boring. There is no drama. Okay, it's either people are together or people are not together. That's it. That's all the drama. And for people like us, it's terrible because nothing's more infuriating than seeing a drama happen. But it gets resolved so quickly because everyone there are just incredible. They're just such nice people that they can't have any conflict between them because if they did, then that goes against their morals. What? No, that's not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to have drama for me to be entertained. Because why else am I coming to school? I'm only coming to school for this. I'm not coming to school for the lessons. Okay, that's a lie. Go to school, kids. Go to school. Let me give you an example, okay? When I was in 6th grade in Ireland, there were a few, friends that I had, and then there was my main group of friends. But there were 2 other girls who they were really good friends, but I would occasionally go and talk to them and hang out with them. So we were just kind of like a little bit more than acquaintances, but not complete close friends. But then after I left to Ireland, I would still keep in touch with them. But then I learned they had an argument and they wanted me to mediate. So I was like, oh, this is great. I would finally have some drama because I was here my first year in India and I was very bored and quite depressed. So I needed some entertainment in my life. So I started talking to both of them, trying to get both of their side of the story and maybe figure out what happened, to mediate, but also to kind of, for myself, just to learn, right? But for some reason, whenever I would ask either of them, they would never say anything bad about each other. They would always say great things, and they would explain it in such a respectful way. I wasn't even sure if they actually had a falling out or not, or they were just messing with me. And then a few days later, I created a group chat between the 3 of us to mediate their differences and to see what they would say to each other. And the first message I get in the message is, hey Aksara, we actually talked to each other and we decided just not to be in contact with each other for the rest of the day, so it's okay, thank you for your help. What? Where is the drama? Where is the tea, the fights, the gossips, the giggles? Where is it? I need it all. And that's when I realized people in Ireland especially are just too nice for their own good. Compare that with Indian teenagers and oh my goodness, it is completely different. Because if you get into an argument with your friend and it's like a big argument, you don't even talk, you're not just gonna sit there simply. No. You're gonna make a jab at her every damn time you guys talk. Or even if you talk to someone else and you know that person's listening, you will make a jab about them to that person. And in my old school in Ireland, if you didn't like somebody, you just wouldn't really talk to them and you wouldn't really interact with them. You just kind of both stay separate. But in India, let me tell you, if you don't like somebody and they don't like you back, neither of you are going to stay silent, okay? You're going to be making silent curses at each other. It's in a very passive-aggressive way. You're going to be insulting each other while shaking hands at the exact same time. There was an example in my school, actually just this year, and obviously I'm not going to say any names because, what if they find this channel and they find out I'm talking about them? They probably know who it is, but just in case, something happens, they find out, and I don't need all the drama, okay? I want drama, but not with me, okay? So there was a physics exam that week, and we got our results back, and my best friend scored really high. I think she was probably the top mark. The thing is, there was another girl who is also a topper and a first ranker, which I am not. And one of her friends, who is a guy, is also a first ranker, but he didn't get the top mark this time. My friend got it. So when they were talking, that girl, who let's just say, frenemy A, was talking to my friend. Frenemy A goes, oh hey, how much marks did you get? And then my friend says she got it. And frenemy A goes, oh, isn't it the highest mark? My friend says yes. And my frenemy says, oh, you got the highest mark. Oh, I didn't expect the other guy to lose to you. That's weird. I feel bad for him. Excuse me, what the hell did you say about my friend? I turned around so fast. I was ready to throw hands with that person until I found out they got higher marks than me, so. But that's the thing with Indian students, right? You can't just throw hands like that. No. You gotta be subtle about it. You gotta speak your insults in a way that can't be detected, but also know that they're dying inside. For an example, the next time after that happened, the next exam was a biology exam, and I'm a biology queen, okay? Any biology question, I will take it. So I got higher marks than frenemy A, and she was sitting beside me for one of the test thingies. She looks over my paper and goes, "Oh, you got that much." And then I looked over at her paper and I saw that she got less than me, right? And then she goes, "Oh, you got higher than me." And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm not surprised." And I know it might seem very simple to all of you because it probably is, but to me, I felt like I was the king or the queen, whatever. And then of course she looks at me a little bit offended, like, and then she rolls her eyes and starts gossiping to her other girls. But in that moment, I felt unstoppable. I'm unstoppable. I'm a Porsche with no brakes. And all of that only brings me to the next part of why Indian schools are just so much more fun. Is because in India, the concept of dating is still not very accepted by a wide population. So in schools, if we hear that someone is dating someone, the entire class will just explode. We'll be identifying every little interaction. Oh look, he liked her Instagram post. Oh look, she gave him his pen. Even if they're not dating, we'll be making up scenarios in our head, thinking that they are dating. And even if they make it very clear, like, hey, we're just friends, that's not gonna stop us. We're still going to write things in their notebook being like, hey, A plus U equals Ayo? Whose name starts with a U? Something's wrong with me. I'm going back to comparing how just utterly nice other people are compared to Indian people. Another example, when I was in Ireland, I had a crush on a guy. So on Valentine's Day, I wrote him a letter and gave it to him because for some reason my 5th grade self was so confident, you know. I think it's COVID. I think COVID just changed everybody. But I gave him the letter, and then next day, very calmly, very quietly gives it back to me with a sad smile. And I open it and it just says, "I'm really sorry." And that's it. That's all he did. I couldn't believe it. Obviously I was disappointed, but I was like, how could you be so nice? How are you so kind? Compare that with India. I had a crush on another guy because I'm just freaky like that. I didn't tell him, obviously, because it's India. I'm not going to tell the person you have a crush on. What? No, don't be dumb. But he found out because one of my, at the time, friends told him, "We're no longer friends. How are you?" So she told him, and then he knew, and I got to know that from another girl. So every time I walked by, I would obviously avoid eye contact, but I could just feel the glare drilling into my head. And not only was he told, but the entire class knew that I liked that guy. So every single guy now either glared at me, didn't talk to me, or looked at me like I was a piece of trash. And not to mention the girls as well who were on his side. And it's not even sides, it's just girls who talk to guys. They think they're superior than all of us. But all in all of this to say, school was honestly so fun and so entertaining at times, so I'm very happy I made the shift from Ireland to India. Now let's move on from the characters you will see at school to the teachings that you will see at the school. And before we start, can I just say, the teachers at my school in particular, most of them, were absolute angels. So I have nothing bad to say about them because all of them were so helpful, so incredibly kind, and I would never ever say anything bad about them because they were just that incredible. But we're not talking about the teachers, no. We're talking about the teaching and the style of the schools and what their policies are. Because for some reason, maybe this is just the schools in my area, but they all think, and when I mean schools, I mean like the higher officials of the schools, like the principals, the chairmans. Yeah. They all think that they can run your life and they're in control of your life. That's what they genuinely think. For an example, my brother studies in a Brahmin school, so when I got back his handbook, I was looking through the pages at like the beginning where they give some instructions and rules to follow. I expected it to be rules like don't run in the corridors, no, don't break school property. It was not those kind of rules, okay? The rules were wake up in the morning at 5, do a puja, apply vibhuti to your forehead, study for 2 hours, finish studying and take a bath, which is like fine advice, take a bath, children please. after you finish, apply vibhuti to your forehead again. Then go to your parents and touch their feet and get their blessings. And once you finish, go to school, study, don't play, come back, play for exactly 30 minutes. And once those 30 minutes are finished, come back and study for 3 more hours. I am not even joking. I swear, that is exactly how the handbook was given. And not just that, after that in the handbook was more rules for students. Don't have any social media. Don't do this, don't do that. All the things that a parent should be saying, that the school is saying. And not having social media thing, I really feel that it's the parents' decision to tell their child whether to not have social media or not. Because as an example, when I was studying 8th grade, I believe, we all had a group chat, a girls' group chat. Nothing weird was happening. We were literally saying hi by sending funny memes, talking about our day, asking for the homework. That's it. That's all that was happening in the group, okay? I don't know what they thought was happening, but that really was it. And somehow that group got known to our principal and our chairman, and they decided, maybe our principal, but for some reason she decided to call us all into a room and to talk for like 2 hours. And she started from why having social media was a bad thing. That's where she started, okay? And she ended the 2 hours with how in the past children used to be obedient. They didn't complain about literally anything. They used to eat whatever the hell was given. They used to not complain about anything. But now children are so disobedient, so ungrateful. So that's where she started and that's where she ended. And in the middle, she talked about the most random things, but somehow she connected them all. I don't understand how. Like, does my principal have superpowers? What's going on? But going back to the topic, I don't see why the school is getting involved in us having a social media account in our house where our parents can see and they know we have a group chat that we're talking in. And to the parent who complained, can I just say, if you're so bothered, why not just tell your child to leave the group? Why go tell the school? As if the school can control like that we do at home. Honestly, again, I feel like this is the parents' part, and I feel like it's their mindset that kind of seeped into schools. Because straight up, every single time I go into a parent-teacher meeting, all I hear is parents complaining that their child is watching too much like phone or devices in their house. How is the class teacher supposed to, I guess, control the amount of screen time that your child in your home has? I don't know why parents think that the class teacher can come into their homes and tell their child, hey, don't watch your phone for so long. That's not the class teacher's responsibility. That's your responsibility as parents. Why do you expect teachers and schools to do everything for you? And going off of the topic of parents, can we for a real quick talk about parents' obsessions with one very simple product? Tiger Balm. Every single parent in India, doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter if you're in a different continent, a different country, doesn't matter. If you're an Indian, you will have definitely heard of Tiger Balm, or at least Vapor Rub. Because they think that is the solution to every single thing. If you have depression, Tiger Balm. If you have a sore throat, Tiger Balm. If you're failing, use Tiger Balm. Headache, Tiger Balm. Nose running, Tiger Balm. Ear pain, Tiger Balm. The ear pain thing isn't even a joke though, because in school, one of my friends suddenly got ear pain. So I took her down to the nurse's room in the school. That nurse is a little bit of a weird one, I will be honest. But she straight up, for ear pain, for her ear hurting, she gave her Tiger Balm. I was so confused. I was like, how is Tiger Balm going to help with ear pain? Like, what? And it's the same thing for me. I had a stomach ache once, and she gave me Tiger Balm. I don't know what that nurse's obsession with Tiger Balm was, but it was real. There was something there. And I'm speaking as someone who loves the smell of Tiger Balm, who can take it and go for as long as I want. But I don't see why people think that it is the miracle cure for everything. The Tiger Balm craze is real, and it's terrifying. Moving on from the topic of Tiger Balm, we need to talk about something else, which is liking things that people usually don't like in India. For example, as you may know, I clearly like anime and I watch a lot of anime, and I'm going to be doing reviews on anime. So when I had posters of anime posters on my wall, I took them down now because we painted recently, but when I had them on, everyone who would come in and see them, some people thought they were cool, some people knew what they were, and even people who knew what they were thought that I was crazy. My relatives would come inside and see them, and they would see me watching animated films and like anime films. They would think I was so weird, and they would be like, You could never explain why anime isn't exactly like cartoon to other people, especially in India, because they will never understand. And they will never even try to understand. Because to them, anything that is animated is a young children cartoon. It could be an award-winning film that was animated and they would still consider it to be equal to Peppa Pig. Honestly, from now on, if anyone tells me that animated shows are just cartoony and dumb, I'm just gonna show them what happened to Nina from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Let them tell me that it's equal to Peppa Pig. Let them. I know it feels like I'm saying a lot of negative things about my country or I don't like living here, which is completely untrue. I love living here and it's probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. So I'll be talking about one good thing that I really like about this place. There are a lot of good things, but the one thing that came to my mind right now is the food is just chef's kiss. Anytime you go out or even stay inside and eat home-cooked food, all the food is just so incredible. And I know people always talk about Indian food being incredible, but as an Indian person, let me tell you, it's true. Indian food is incredible, the best cuisine of all time. The last point I want to touch on living in India as an Indian girl is when you go to buy clothes or other accessories that you put on your body, the salespeople are either Mother Teresa or Hades. There is no in between. They're either pure good or pure evil. The good salespeople are actually people who help you and they help you find the right size. They don't talk to you rudely or they don't disrespect you or they don't think they know your body better than you do. They actually just give you what you ask. That's it. And that's what a good salesperson should do. And then there, on the other hand, there are these salespeople who are just purely Satan's spawn. And for some reason, Indian parents always believe them when they don't believe themselves. Why? Why do we listen to everything salespeople say? They're not always right. They don't know your body like you do. And they don't know your child's body like your child does. Like a few years ago, I was going to buy innerwear with my mother. We go to the store, I give them my size. Okay, and the salesperson looks at me, she takes it out and she goes, yeah, I think this is too big for you, so I'm gonna get a different size. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe it actually is a bit big, so we'll go see some of the other ones. She takes out the tiniest little thing ever, and I'm like, that's not gonna fit me, that's gonna be way too tight. I say that, hey, this is not my size. No, it's your size, it'll fit you perfectly. Look, you look so beautiful, it'll be fine for you. And I'm like, no, it's gonna be too tight for me, I'm not gonna be able to fit this. Doesn't listen to me, doesn't say anything. My mom also doesn't listen to me. She also agrees with the salesperson. And what? I'm the one who's gonna be wearing it. I know what I look like, how I feel. That's not gonna fit for me. Then I come back home and I try it on, and it is so tight. I can't even put it on. It was a struggle to take it off. I tell my mother, hey, this was way too small. I told you it was too small. We should have gone the bigger size. And we proceed to have a yelling match because for some reason, she still believes that the salesperson was right. No, the salesperson wasn't right. It's my body. I'm the one who's going to be wearing it. I know what my body's like, what the proportions are, okay? Nothing against my mother, like, mommy, I love you, but please stop listening to salespeople all the time. Another example, when we were getting a sari for her, there were a bunch of options. She really liked one of them, which was like a colorful one. She gives it to the salesperson saying, hey, I want to build this. Salesperson takes one look at the sari and goes, no, this won't be nice for you. Look at the other ones. Look at the ones there. They're nice for you. And they honestly didn't look good. Okay, I wasn't a fan. They looked so just plain, cheap, boring. And they were so monotone. And they were more expensive than the one my mom picked. But mom, what does my mom do? Instead of saying, oh no, I like this one. Immediately goes over to those and he's like, oh, should I get that one? But I don't know. I don't really like it. The salesperson goes, oh no, it'll be beautiful for you. It's so perfect for you. She doesn't like it, but you know what? She still got it. Another example, I was getting a dress for an engagement, so it had to look really good because everyone is going to be there and you have to look good in Indian engagements. It was a really pretty dress, okay, it was like red, it was a gown. The size that was in the store was perfect for me. I thought, hey, it was really nice, I looked really nice in it. When I showed my mother, she said, oh no, it's too small. And I said, oh no, that's just the style of the dress because the dress had a waist snatch panel, which is supposed to make your shape look better and you're supposed to snatch that waist. My mom thought that it looked too small and I needed to get a bigger size. I said, I think a bigger size might just make me look really big, so I want this. Doesn't let me say anything, doesn't let me finish, she orders a bigger size. And when when the bigger size came, it was clearly too big for me. But Mama didn't say anything. You know why? Because she knows that she was wrong. So I wore that. To the engagement and let everyone stare at me. And even one of my aunties kept saying, hey, that dress is really big. Why are you wearing it? Because I'm the type of person, okay? I cry for a lot. And I really hate it, but I can control it. I cry for a lot of things, whether I'm angry, upset, emotional, I cry, okay? So I was angry and I started crying. And it became a big scene and yeah, things happened. And then we had to stitch that dress twice to get it to the right size for me. And it's still sometimes big in my opinion. It still doesn't fit me properly. Which frustrates me so much. It's such a beautiful dress and I love it so much, but it's too big for me. Like, why can't parents sometimes just listen to us when it's dresses that we're going to wear? And this was the one time the saleswoman was actually pure goodness, because when I came out in that dress from the dressing room and it fit me perfectly, and my mom said it was too small, the saleswoman actually agreed with me and she said, hey, that dress is actually the perfect size, but leave it to mommy to not listen to me at all. And once again, nothing against my mother, okay, but it's just my experiences. But with all of that, we have come to the end of this video. I am so happy for anyone who stayed with me for so long. Anyone who agrees with me or even disagrees with me, please let me know in the comments what you thought about this. If I have anything else that comes to mind, I'll let you know in a different video. But that's the end of this video, so I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you again later. Bye!